Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to part 5 of our look into Re-Education's Guide on the Modern Revolution. We are going to hear an anarchist tell us how to do a revolution. So without further ado, let's dive right in.
So tactic number 2, they go low, we go high. When liberals want something done, they like to take the high road. They do it by the book. They focus on process. They follow the letter of the law. They iron out every single detail. They do research and scientific testing, and they try to find a compromise. And if somebody is disruptive or uncivil, they inevitably just mock them or ignore them.
There's kind of a problem. You said liberals do all this stuff, but up here you have it categorized as the left. Oh man. It sucks that I have to explain this, but liberals aren't left. Just so we're all clear. Liberals are not left wing. Liberals are centrist at best.
But when the right wants something done, they do it. Laws or morality be damned. So for example, here in Canada, the right hates Trudeau. So when they heard about the Yellow Vest movement, they usurped the message and began to march about pipelines and hanging the Prime Minister. They actively touted conflict with liberals, got media attention, and promoted a message of hate. Their goal was to change laws. And the fascist way of doing that is by force, numbers, and deceptive tactics.
But I mean, okay,
The way of doing that is by force.
Okay, but to say using force, using strength of numbers, and using deceptive tactics, those aren't just part of the realm of fascism. The workers can use those too to reach their own empowerment and to achieve their own revolution. There's nothing to say that the workers can't use force, can't use their strength of numbers, and can't use deceptive tactics to cement their revolution and to change society. It's not... We shouldn't give up the ground of using force to the fascists. We shouldn't afford that right specifically to the fascists and ignore it on our own side. We should be prepared to meet their force with force of our own.
Numbers and deceptive tactics. While the left is focused on compromise or mockery, the right focuses on the goal. The right actively goes low to force you to go high. They bait you. A great example of how the far right and neoliberalism has completely pacified the left is the fact that we never ever want to do any sort of direct action towards any aggressive tactic that Nazis or the far right use. Where I'm from, when the
I really think that re-education here is confusing liberals with leftists, and I don't know if he's doing this intentionally or unintentionally, but I highly suggest if it's unintentional, he sort of redo this video, and where he says left, he should just say liberal. Because if we're talking about liberals, I agree. If we're talking about the left, all the left does is compromise, all the left does is mockery, well then that's bullshit, my friend. That's evidently bullshit. The left does far more than that. Liberals are absolutely useless. The left, actual leftist, that's something else entirely.
Nazis started marching in the streets, the only thing that the liberals could come up with was to institute something called a clown count, which would be that every single Nazi that shows up marching in the streets with a yellow vest on, they would donate $1 to a charity of their choice.
That was where the Honkler meme came from, as it turns out.
They said Planned Parenthood.
I don't know.
But what liberals
Probably
don't
not.
understand is while we're counting, they're recruiting. And eventually, there won't be a Planned Parenthood to donate the money to. Now, this doesn't mean that process isn't important, but we should focus less on how we should go about things, and focus more on what things we should go about. That doesn't mean you should let the ends justify the means, but you should never value the means at the expense of the ends. Far-right
I mean, if your end goal is to establish socialism, then you should use any means necessary to do that. The means be damned. So you'll hear me say it first. The ends definitely do justify the means when it comes to establishing a dictatorship of the proletariat. You heard it here first, folks. Probably not first, but I'm saying it. At least I have the gumption to say it. It's sad that there are a lot of, quote unquote revolutionary leftists out there who say, "Oh, we should really focus on the process of achieving revolution through nonviolent means, and we should really be on the higher ground here and not be afraid to, or be afraid to really get our hands dirty." Sorry, there's nothing clean and squeaky clean about revolution. Revolution is a dirty business, and the establishing the dictatorship of the proletariat is going to take nothing less than a revolution. It's not going to come through reform. It's certainly not going to come through debate.
Dictators have absolutely no problem provoking, intimidating, offending, or harassing anyone and everyone into compliance. Our response should never be to compromise or to simply mock them. So, what is a direct action solution? Again, we have...
I agree with that last statement. You should never compromise or just settle for mockery when it comes to these fascists. You should actually strive to fight against them.
have our 4 variables: imitation, aggressive, passive, or...
And this is, just so I can cover my own ass, I do a lot of mockery of Nazis and chuds, but I don't do them the discourtesy of treating them like they're not a threat. I think that these people are a very real threat, these fascists. And I mock them, but I don't treat them as a novelty. I treat them as a very serious threat.
or violent. Imitation. We hate fascism, so when we hear about the Yellow Vest movement, we get everyone we know to take that message and begin to march about job loss and the environment. We actively conflict with capitalist machinery like cops and neoliberals, get media attention, and promote a message of socialism.
Those are all great things. You say we, and when you make these statements, we should get everyone we know. We should begin to march about job loss and the environment. We should actively conflict with capitalist machinery like cops and neoliberals. We should get media attention. We should promote a message of socialism. Who is we? How do you form we? How do you form whatever organization you're talking about to do this kind of thing? Because it's not just going to come from spontaneity. These spontaneous workers' movements, they'll rise up one day and then they'll go back to work the next day. They'll be weekend revolutionaries. So, what kind of organizational structure is guiding this process? You say we, but how do you get to the point where it is we instead of just you? That's the state I'm at right now in my own efforts to organize. I'm trying to get a group of people together, and it's harder than it looks. You can't just start off assuming that you have all of these people ready to go, ready to act, ready to fight against the conflict with the capitalist machinery. You have to assemble an organization. You have to assemble comrades. You have to make sure that you're guided by a common goal and a common theory.
Cops and neoliberals get media attention and promote a message of socialism. The aggressive tactic would be that we hate fascism, so when we hear about the Yellow Vest movement, we take that message and call every anti-fascist that we know. When they show up, we wear masks, hold flags, and overwhelm them. We actively conflict with Nazis, block their message, and promote peace. Of course, the passive solution: conflict with Nazis, block their message, and promote peace.
I mean, those are all good steps. Those are all great steps to do. I highly recommend everybody get sort of a network like that out there. So, kind of answers my question, how do you get that organizational structure? I guess he's organizing it based purely on anti-fascist. So it could be anarchist, it could be Trotskyist, it could be Maoist, it could be Marxist-Leninist. It could even be liberals, technically. It could even be conservatives, technically, as long as they're anti-fascist. I mean, where is the line drawn there? I guess is my question. But, let's just keep going.
Of course, the passive solution would be that we hate fascism, so when we hear about the Yellow Vest movement, we take that message and begin to engage with common people about a socialist solution to our own problems. We take our message door to door, put out leaflets, talk to people online. We give the people the right solutions, or else the Nazis will give them the wrong one. And then when it comes to pass, we march with common people and get media attention to promote a message of socialism.
Alright, so those are all pretty good.
We march with common people and get media attention to promote a message of
Those are all pretty good goals, except for the media attention. You gotta let that one go, friend. The media doesn't give a flying fuck about socialism or the working class, and the sooner you can sort of get off that obsession with appealing to the media, the better, because they're not going to serve you. The media is going to be one of your primary antagonists in a proletarian movement. But all of this, the rest of this is great. Uh, like I said, there are nuggets of wisdom in these videos. We don't disagree on uh, the minor details like this. The point in which we disagree is over the overarching revolutionary structure. I obviously think it should be guided by a vanguard party, and he thinks it should be spontaneous and guided by these loose coalitions of anti-fascist networks. I don't think that his model will prove very effective, but that's where we are free to disagree and have debates about this kind of thing. On the other hand, I agree with a lot of what he has to say here about putting out leaflets, talking to people online, taking your message door to door. We have to be prophets and missionaries of socialism. We have to really treat this like it's a religion. We got to be the crazy guy on the street corner with the megaphone talking about how the end times are coming. We just need to do that from a Marxist perspective.
Socialism. And of course, violent direct action would be to just hit everybody with your car. Probably won't look very good for our cause on the news. In the next video, we're going to be talking...
But again, dude, you gotta give up that obsession with appealing to the capitalist media. Nothing you do is going to look good on the news because they're gonna find a way to spin it to make you look like shit. So look at the reputation that Antifa already has in the mainstream media. They're basically treat them like Cobra from G.I. Joe. They're fucking terrorists, even though they've never killed anybody. So I mean, just stop trying to appeal to the capitalist media, and I think you'll go a lot farther than if you try to dilute and manage the optics of your movement. So that was part 5. Stay tuned for part 6, where he talks about infantilizing and legitimizing. This is pretty interesting series. Let me know what you think in the comments below.